I didn't get enough of
Oh
it.
boy.
Is that, hey, there she is. Hola. Come on
Hello
in.
guys. How you
That's it.
doing?
No, good to see you.
Hi. I'm gonna see you tomorrow.
Good to
What you
see
guys
you.
doing?
Good to see you. I'm gonna
Good
dim
to
the
see
light.
you.
You guys catch up for a second.
Crazy stuff happening, huh?
Oh yeah, I love it. It's
Me
just
too.
that keeps us busy and
It's going
keeps
too
us active.
fast. I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's coming out so fast and heavy. It's like
Yeah.
there's so much for me to cover. I'm like, gosh, I'm just gonna have to just spread it out, and just maybe focus on one or two things here.
I know. I feel the same way. I was trying to put together my show earlier and I was like, what matters here? It all matters. How do I
Right? Oh
figure
yeah,
out what matters?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I jump off here, I have like I think 15 different things I'm gonna cover. It's
Right.
like normally it's like maybe 8 to 10, but yeah, and I know I'm not covering it all. It's just
I know.
so much, and I want to just talk about one of them for an hour. So
I know, me too. I know. I have I picked up like probably 15 things I think people need to know about and don't know about, and then I'm like,
mhm.
it's too much. It's too much. So
Oh
we'll
yeah,
make it here.
exactly. Yeah, the election craziness is just keeps getting crazier and crazier as we go along.
Yeah, I just had on a woman from Arizona, Gail Golick, who's on the ground
Wow,
there, and
nice.
they erased all the databases.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like a Hillary Clinton. Yeah, you want my emails? Oh,
Right.
hundreds of thousands of them just kind of disappeared.
Well,
How
if we
about
don't
that?
see any accountability or justice on any
Hmm.
level, then people are going to keep doing it and thinking they can get away with it. It's incredible.
Like, yeah, where's those hard drives, guys? I don't know. Look over there under those stack of hammers, right? They might be over there.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So this is
Exactly.
great, guys. You guys, I wanted you here. This is the show tonight. Drop the intel. Where do you guys want to start? And I'm going to sit back and I might do a little chorus director here, but take it. Give us what you got. Let the
Well,
people hear what you guys got. Where
let's
do you want to go?
let's jump in on that election fraud that's going on
Yeah.
right now. So
Yeah.
they really they know their goose is cooked, and
Oh, yeah.
they're extremely antsy. They're having all these secret meetings. They're getting together and saying, "Oh my God, what we're going to do? What we're going to do?" I even had Juan O'Savin on, and we were talking about this. And I said, Juan, we're going to be lucky if they don't, like the last emperor, where he's like,
Right.
let me see the books. For the last 1,000 years, you guys have been doing your own thing, and I think it's time to like have some accountability. So they burned the temple where all the files were. I said, we'll be lucky
Right.
if we don't have those guys do this. And sure enough, here we go. They deleted
Yeah.
the files.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and now Dominion, of course, who's playing lawfare across the board, because at the end of the day, you follow Dominion to the top, Lord
Mhm.
Mullet Brown / Soros, and that means that they have unlimited money to play lawfare and keep doing this stuff. And they put out a statement today disparaging the cyber ninjas and then saying that all of this is unfounded. And again, the same exact thing that they've been doing, but Lindell's out there saying, no, if I work for Dominion, I would be turning myself in now. And I happen to believe Lindell knows what he's talking about. And then the
Mhm.
woman I had on from Arizona said that they're closing, they have a graduation planned so that they're going to close down the audit now because they had something else planned. And I said, how can this be coming up now? And then they're not going to talk about the missing files that they erased 10 times worth of missing files, all the adjudicated files, and they're not going to even discuss it till the 18th. If this happened to any one of us, we would be handcuffed, but these guys, they just keep playing the game.
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to keep playing the game, like you said, until they're held accountable. So somebody in that group needs to go to jail.
Right.
And probably a lot of them, like Mike Lindell saying, turn yourself in now because if they turn themselves in now, and I said this months ago, way back in, November, I said, you guys that are rigging this election right now, you need to come forward and just say, hey, I didn't have any part of this. They told me to do this. And, right. I'm seeing this. And we had a lot of people do that. I think they're going to be good. But
Right.
these people that are obviously all the way up to this point are covering this stuff up, they're probably going to go away for at least 10 years or more, probably up to 20, maybe. And some of them, if they get connected with treasonous, could be executed.
Yeah.
So, I'll tell you what, guys, these
Yeah.
FEMA camps they've been building, for the last 15 to 20 years,
Oh
where
yeah,
they could house millions. I'll tell you what, that infrastructure is going to be becoming very valuable to us.
absolutely.
Opposite
Let's
of what we
hope
thought.
so. Let's
Yep.
hope so, because I think the three of us all think that there's a sting operation going on here, but we also
Mhm.
know that it's international. And I have to keep reminding people that yes, Trump, and yes, this election, this same exact team, these same demons that stole our election have been doing it all over the world, one after another after another. Right before this happened in Israel, Abbas delayed the elections in Palestine, or the Palestinian territory, because he believed Hamas was going to steal the election or win the election again. And now we have a war there. But also what we heard about Myanmar, Ecuador, Belarus, Haiti, Somalia, there have been election fraud issues all over the world at the same exact time. And I believe it's all connected. Now they're talking about the election in Iran being postponed. And again, all going to come back to the same cabal, to Dominion, Smartmatic, the CCP, Lord Moloch Brown and Soros. They pulled the color revolution in America. It's
Yep.
exactly
Yep.
the playbook they used in Ukraine. And, here they are trying to rebuild for Obama's third term.
I'll tell you what, guys, Mel, I guarantee you the greatest shock that's going to come from this whole election theft is going to be how long they've been doing this. I was talking to people in California yesterday. Look, I worked
Absolutely.
political campaigns there
Mhm.
for about 10 years.
Right.
I said, I'm telling you what you're going to find out. You're going to find out these guys have been stealing elections in California for decades. You get to the Inland Empire, you get out of the lunacy of Los Angeles. Yes,
Right.
Southern California, San Diego's got its, sort of its combined element there. And then you've got Sacramento area, which is what it is, or San Fran. There's a shit ton of conservatives in California. And we're going to find out they've been stealing California and making it very, very blue when it is certainly tipped red, voter wise. And that's what people are going to be shocked, not just there, but they're going to realize the fact of the matter is these guys have been stealing elections. I would say that since Kennedy, they couldn't get Reagan. Obviously, that was the last thing they wanted to have happen. So much so that H.W. Bush tried to take him out twice. Yep. And then Trump. Aside from that, you give me one person who served in the presidency that wasn't installed there by the machine.
They were all installed mainly by the Council of Foreign Relations, to tell the truth. People want to scratch beyond the surface. Romney and McKay both threw their elections. They were in on it. Yeah. And also in California, people don't know how many contracts the CCP has with the people in California. Mm-hmm. Everyone that's an elected official is in bed with the Chinese Communist Party, from top to bottom. And also in San Francisco, there's a World Economic Forum there. People don't even know that. Mainly, they've been working on the Fourth Industrial Revolution this whole time. And California is a very dangerous situation in my mind right now. I don't know what you guys think. Well, I agree with you 100% because I also believe that Canadians believe Trudeau didn't win. No, also, Khan was just reelected in London. Mm-hmm. People in the UK don't believe he won. No. This is a giant there, and it's all the same, as you guys know, the same players at the top of the pyramid running all of this, thinking that these 3,000, I say, people think that they can control the 8 billion rest of us. They are so arrogant, and their biggest thing. I'm a little worried, and I don't know what you guys think about this, because I do believe that the White Hats are in control and the International Alliance is doing that. But I have been doing a lot of research on what's been going on in geopolitically over the last 10, 15 years to get to where we are. And I found that both Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein both wanted to get out of the US dollar, out of the petrodollar, out of the central bank, with the same people that are fighting us right now, and do their own thing. Gaddafi was sitting on enough gold to do it and start an African Union Bank type of thing. Saddam was about to do the same thing. And now we find Trump about to do the same thing. And here we are. And these lunatics, what they do in their color revolution, which is, I believe, what really happened in Libya. I think Benghazi was the cover-up. I think what really happened is that Gaddafi was going to end the petrodollar, at least for his part. He had the most oil, most gold. He was going to invite in the Middle East and all of them to be involved in his new plans. And bam, they send in the NGOs. all the Soros NGOs that sound like they're humanitarian help came in and created the division on the streets in Libya that really wasn't happening because they actually loved him in Libya. He was no longer our enemy. They overthrew him. They assassinated him in a war crime, in my opinion. And then they installed who they wanted there. Libya has become a hellhole. It has become a trafficking hub like no other. The port
Slave
is
trading.
being used. And you know what? Right. And you know what they did? And I'm scared they're doing it, or they want to do it here. Samantha Powers pulled that thing in the UN, that NATO card, which is the right, responsibility to protect. And NATO rolled into Libya. And I feel like right now they're making America so chaotic. And then they put this woman that hates America, is saying like white supremacy and all this stuff in the UN. CCP is saying the America's racist to the core, all this stuff. And I think that they want to pull the NATO card, go to the UN and say, America is hopeless. We need you to come in, and responsibility to protect and take our country. And I know the white hats won't let it happen, but I keep hearing this responsibility to protect. And when I looked into it, it looks like a perfect storm for what they want.
Yeah. Now we can go all the way back to the 1950s, early 1950s in Iran, where Mohammad Mossadegh was the prime minister. MI6 and also the CIA came in and basically took him out, did a coup d'etat on him, and because he nationalized the oil industry, the people loved him, but they came in and did a coup d'etat on him,
right.
And the Iranians never forgot. That's why there's a problem all the way to this day. They don't like the West, and that's because we come in and we do these things. Now, fast forward to today, what's going on with the oil? All right. So Biden shuts down the oil pipeline the day that he gets in office, and for the first time since, the 1970s, where, we had this oil crisis and they jacked the price of oil up. I was around during that time frame. It really sucked, standing and being in the lines for hours.
Right.
Now we're seeing it again. And they tell us these things because Biden and his wife went and saw Jimmy Carter, who was part of that, and Rosalind, Jimmy Carter, and they're like hanging out with him like 10 days ago.
Right.
So and then we have the same situation. Inflation is going through the roof. The oil lines again, and they're making parallels to that. And I came out yesterday and says there's no parallel here. Jimmy Carter, like President Trump just said, was just incompetent. We have someone in Biden administration that are literally doing this trying to destroy our economy. So right. It's insane.
The tough thing about all this, guys, is this, and this is kind of the reckoning we have to come to, and it is unfortunate, truly is. And like you said, Mike, we go in and do these things. It isn't you, it isn't me, it isn't good Americans. Right. It's the Khazarian mafia. The Khazarian mob have been running this show forever. They're the ones that are doing this, using our soldiers as cannon fodder for money, banking, business like Gaddafi. But here's the sad thing. You remember we saw the 17 back channel intelligence. Now comes the pain. Now comes the pain. We're all thinking, here comes the hammer. They're going to drop the hammer. And we also know there's double meanings on many things and triple meanings at times. My belief is this, and I've said this numerous times, the alliance is powerful. We know that. They're controlling the entire card game. I think the chessboard is completely set up for these guys to accomplish what needs to be accomplished. But my main point over the last number of months, since we realized post inauguration, the plan is not exactly what we thought it might be, but we can look back and try to make deductions on this intel. So I look at it this way. I said this. They can come in, if they could drop the hammer, sure, we're going to have a greater loss of life, and they're not going to do anything until they can guarantee the safety of the American people before they hit the ultimate takedown button. But more importantly than anything, if we have complete victory on that level, until we have truly the reckoning, the great awakening, until we have this event, and they said in there, I know, Mel, you stated it too, and so has Juan many times. It won't be until we're pushed to the brink, to the moment of destruction, before we will find the will to change. The only way that we're going to accomplish what's most important, and is the great awakening, is we're going to have to feel the pain. We've sat back and watched this bullshit be perpetuated on us to the degree that now we know that there's massive global child satanic ritual abuse, murder, brutal sodomy, cannibalization of our children in numbers that are staggering. And we still have people to sit back and can't have their gasket blow just knowing this. We have allowed this to happen to humanity. So therefore, the pain that we're going to feel economically, financially, personally, all these things that we're going to see that causes this great fear, guess what? I don't deserve it. I know you guys don't. You've been on this battlefield, but for a long time, the vast majority of this country, they are going to have to be punched. You know how it is, Mike, when you get into this fight, right? And you're going to take this guy on, you get into it and wham, you get clocked like right out of the gate. And you're like, your whole mindset is like that shock is like, holy shit, I better figure out what's coming now. What do I got to do next? Right. You're fully awake and like, boy, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And then you got to figure out how to retool until we get that proverbial punch in the face by what's coming, pipeline shut down. I think the alliances, you guys probably think the same. The alliance is allowing a lot of this stuff to happen because if we don't feel the pain and say, we are never going to allow this to happen to this country again, we lose. We lose without the spiritual ascension or the great awakening happen. So unfortunately, folks, I say, get ready and be prepared. We're going to win. I have no doubt. I don't know how it plays out. I've said from day one, I know what the outcome is. I have no clue what's happening. I'm just watching it with fascination, but we're going to pay a price because we refused to guard our freedom. So unfortunately, people, you need to know that's coming, and we got to be ready. You know, we got to be ready. We got to be, and that's why for me, this whole tour is about getting people to get in the fight. Get in the fight, get to the school board meetings, get to the city councils, because once they bring this architecture down, we got a lot of shitheads we got to clear out of these positions of power. And how do we do that quickly? You get America to stand up like we saw in Vail, Arizona. We saw these cowards. Once people stand up, the cowards always run. They never stand and fight. They don't fight to the death. Like Mike, you've seen many positions where like, if I go, we go. One of us goes down, we're going down. You're going to die for your cause. All these people over there, they're all cowards. They throw each other under the bus. They run, they cry, beg for their lives. They don't have conviction. If we just stand up, get America to stand up, this thing happens. It's over fast. But it's what it's going to take. It's really going to take people standing up. And then we're going to say, we do have a great awakening, a real national great awakening happening. And once that happens here, it'll be a geometric progression worldwide. It happens every time. You've seen it many times, Mike, in conflicts. Like, we don't want this spilling over into this country. Why? Because the leaders know. Because the people rising over here and say, you know what? These assholes have been doing this to us forever. Let's go. And then boom, it just spreads. Anyway,
absolutely.
I think a lot of people are going to be very shocked. Again, you said something earlier, which is true about most nations, all the nations, I believe, in the alliance. It's certainly true, which is there are two factions. We have been lied to about the UN. We have been lied to about the CIA, about NATO. We're funding a lot of this, and that's where they're not doing humanitarian missions in the world. They're not doing anything to benefit humanity. This is not what it's been about. It's been about this small group of people enriching themselves and enslaving humanity, be it with debt slavery or stealing resources or trafficking, guns, money, people, children. It's so big, it's international, but I believe this is happening in every country. I believe right now there's two factions in China. I believe there's two factions in Russia. There's two factions in Israel, for sure. Well, Australia, everywhere. I believe that there's a white hat and a black hat in every single country right now. I'm not even sure which side some of these people are on. G, especially in my mind, is a big question mark. But geopolitically, so many moves are happening. I've given up on our news. So every day I have certain papers around the world, like in Poland, in China, in Russia, the English language paper for the people that live there. The rest of the world knows our election was stolen. Okay. The rest of the world refers to Joe Biden as the illegitimate president. And the rest of the world is furious. But I will tell you what's going on. In what my estimation is that Iran is meeting with Saudi Arabia without America, without NATO. Ukraine met with Russia without the CIA, NATO, and America. A lot of countries are starting to, in my opinion, they're starting to veer off and starting to reject NATO, the UN, the World Bank, the central bank. You're hearing a lot of world leaders saying now out loud, there will be no great reset. There was some kind of thing that happened in the Vatican a few days ago. It was basically like an event for Moloch. And it was like Anthony Fauci speaking and the CEOs of Pfizer, Moderna, and upside down cross wearing Chelsea Clinton. It barely got press. But I do believe all the countries of the world, the good people, which is the majority, are fighting back like we are in their own ways in all of these countries. And that's why I think their whole Great Reset and the Great Awakening you're talking about, we are going to feel the pain, but the Great Awakening on the other side, I think will be the exact opposite of what these people wanted. I really do believe that. I've also been talking to people about the gold and the money side and how much really there is. There isn't a shortage of money. There's a dearth of greedy, horrible demons who have been hoarding the money from the masses. So as much as I agree, we're going to feel pain. And I do fear that these demons in there right now, if they have their ability to pull a full on color revolution here and let NATO or UN troops come into America, that's when you're going to see people that have never stood up, stand up and go out and fight. Americans are not going to allow that next move. And I think that's in their dance card is pulling in the UN.
Look how many guys like it, Mike, look how many guys out there like you in this country. Right. Look how many there are. Think of what happens when just one organizer says, you know what? We did it everywhere else around the world. Now it's time to do it here. There's just no way.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what's happening. You know, like a lot of people like us that are standing up and, you know, we're three gladiators in the ring right now, you know, slugging it out, you know, back to back. And people are taking notice and like, hey, these guys are like, let's join them. Let's get in this fight. Let's make this happen. And it's a digital war. It's not a normal war where, you know, people are out, you know, like, you know, shooting bullets or, you know, throwing spears or whatever. It's our mouths are getting, you know, the action, getting the traction that we need to move forward. So I see when you guys share stuff and I share stuff, it does make it to the national news now. It's starting to make it up there. And I haven't seen this yet until now. I'm seeing it almost every night. The stuff that we talk about on our end is now being talked about by our president, Trump, and a lot of other people. I see it the next day. It's like, okay, we're all in this together. We're starting to get some traction here. We're seeing House Republicans right now that introduced a bill to fire Dr. Fauci.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that and I was talking about this. I know we have all been talking about this, how Fauci has been involved in Wuhan labs and sending taxpayer money there. And now it's gaining traction. They're going to start to take these guys out in front of us instead of behind the scenes.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And you and I think when we did a show, talked about that gain of function research. The only reason to do it is to create a biological weapon. And finally, Rand Paul called him out and he lied. He lied and he said, no, I didn't do that. And then he said, yeah, through the Bio Alliance you did. And all these shell companies that they use and all of that. And
Rand Paul did?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You got to listen to that. It's just like
crushing.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, Michael and I talked about it on his show a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And I will tell you right now, I think Fauci is a weak link. I also don't think that it's an accident that we are having the spotlight put back on Bill Gates and Jeffrey Epstein. We are also having a very damning biography come out about Bezos. Then it comes out today that these guys made over $350 billion over this past year in their investments in the biotechnology, in the transhumanism, in the chemicals, in big pharma. They have made a fortune. The money that has been made off of COVID is astronomical, while we the people paid the price. And so much is coming out, and it's just coming to a place where people are really looking at these people wearing masks after vaccines in Congress like Biden and thinking, we're really stupid. How did this happen? And I think Fauci's going to go down big time. Meanwhile, he's been doing this for decades.
Yep.
He was involved in AIDS, and a lot of the people that were
Mhm.
big warriors fighting against AIDS hated Dr. Fauci and blamed him for a lot of that too, and the mess ups. And I don't know if you guys recall, I'm sure you do, the Clinton Global Initiative, AIDS initiative that went all over India and Africa, and it was sterilizing people. People were dying, and they were giving out fake drugs. The two Indians that they were in bed with, the Clinton Global Initiative for AIDS, are in prison. And again, that's another thing I bring up a lot. A lot of people are in prison that know where the bodies are buried and want out. So we can't forget the Epstein case is huge, and it connects Gates and the Wuhan lab and Harvard and MIT and transhumanism and eugenics and Dr. Fauci and all of this. Epstein's involved in all of that too. So, all of this is all going to match up. And I don't know if you guys have heard this, but they are sitting on 10,000 hours of blackmail that they seized from Epstein's properties. We're talking about 10,000 hours of people blackmailed, probably with children.
Brutality.
So they're waiting on it. So my question is, who has this stuff? And I know that they're out there, but it's just that's why I know that they have to be letting this happen, because a lot of people think Durham is fake. Durham's not fake. There have been grand juries. Huber wasn't fake. So to me, it's like they have to be letting this happen because they have so much evidence on all these people.
Well, think about the election. I mean, just the election for that matter. Again, a lot of the back channel information we got,
right,
is misinterpreted. I mean, people anons were doing their best. They really were. I thought it was fascinating, this stuff. And I wasn't one of those guys that could sit and make all these deductions and draw these vectors in 50 different directions, say, my God, I got it. I was just fascinated watching these brilliant people do it. But quite honestly, if you now look at the recent information, that 3.11, 11.3, think mirror, that all was all tying into the law of war.
Right.
Now you go through, I saw this great video that a guy did in January. I'm going through this. Ron sent it to me and I'm like, holy Mary, Mother of God, this is fascinating. This guy's laying this out, and you can draw these parallels backwards and see this. So absolutely, these guys are letting this play out like the election. They can't, according to what he was saying in the law of war, it was necessary for a belligerent occupier of what we might have called sovereign land. That action has to happen before it triggers these laws of war, because quite honestly, we know that the alliance has to have the supreme moral authority, meaning abide by all of their laws that they create to keep us inside these lanes while they break them in everything that they do. So we not only took the rules that were stacked against us to lose all the time, they stayed in those lanes and they still took them down. So historically, they can never, winners write history, going to win anyways, but nobody will ever be able to question the authenticity of the plan, the operation, what its intended outcome was to be, and that they have the highest moral authority. It can never come to that conclusion. So if they didn't allow these things to happen, it didn't trigger these other actions that allow the military to basically break these laws to right the ship. So having this whole horizon, we can now look at clearly and see this landscape playing out. Every piece of this, again, I'm like you, Mel, anything that we see happening, it's either because they're making it happen or they're allowing it to happen for the intended outcome, which isn't just a socioeconomic or geopolitical outcome. It's a spiritual outcome, which is, in my opinion, more important than any of it.
Right, because we let them go. Listen, everyone was told that the Nazis went away. That's not true. What happened was the Third Reich turned into the Fourth Reich in America. And what really happened, as you guys know, we've all talked about it, was, again, we can't let them get away again. We have to get rid of them this time. It can't, they just reinvent. So what happened was George Bush Sr.'s father and a bunch of Americans involved, the CIA, Dulles, all them, they got all those the worst of the worst Nazis, scientists and everything, von Braun, Goebbels, Mengele, and they brought them here. And the UN and Rockefeller and all of that, it's not a coincidence that popped up right when that fell. And Argentina, and then the Pope right now is from Argentina. A lot of this is all related. It's all part of it. And like you said, it's spiritual. This time we can't let the beast rebuild. Okay. They were, all they did was come here and reinvent themselves. And if we don't get rid of them this time, all they're going to do is do it again, and our children are going to pay for it next time.
Yeah, we're seeing that, everyone says, well, why hasn't the military stepped in yet? Because, what we're talking about here, you have to lay the foundation. Everything has to be just right. So when they come in and do their moves behind the scenes, I've even heard that they're actually holding military tribunals in the White House because it's not a state. So it's like one of those little, Washington, D.C. is not a state, so they can come in and do whatever they want. And that's why they do the things that they do there, like they do at the Vatican, like they do the city of London, and also in Switzerland. So a lot of these places are, off limits. So we can come in and, oh, you guys want to play that game? We're going to play this game against you. And that's what's happening. So 80% of the military, just like 80% of the population, I believe, are with Trump, voted for Trump, and are with Trump. But there's still that 20%. So there is a cleaning process that's going on, unfortunately, in the military, as well as, a lot of other places. So I just saw that there's a lockdown at Fort Campbell. So if you haven't gotten your vaccine, you have to stay on base. You can't even have your liberty. You cannot even go on leave. So there's still some evil little generals out there that are playing their little games, so it's not to get cleaned up. And in El Paso, there's a general down there that's letting his base be used to traffic children. So they're housing, illegal children coming across the border on base there. We know what happens in Texas. There's a lot of underground facilities that, do the A thing. And it's not good. There's still cleaning that has to go on, guys. So don't think that why isn't the military, stepping up right now? There's still house cleaning going on in the military as well.
Yeah. And
that's
I
going to be
also
the biggest shock. That'll be the biggest shock to the American spirit, that our military, who is heralded like no other population segment, especially at the general level, that these people can be those kind of people. That's just stunning. Absolutely stunning.
Just look at the
There was a
Atlantic
big cleanup,
Council.
but not enough.
Yeah, look at the Atlantic Council. Look at the Trilateral Commission. Look at Halliburton and Raytheon and all of them, and look at all the ex-military that made out after the military, and they are military-industrial complex, and they whatever they were on the battlefield, they became about money and power and manipulation. All the ones in the Council of Foreign Relations, it's just a fact. But like everything else, there's two sides to everything. I think the other part that's really, first of all, I agree with you. I've thought this whole time the continuity of government was kicked in back after the election with the 11-3, 11-4. And I did a show about that a long time ago, because nothing is making sense on the level of how much crime they already have evidence of. That's where I keep going back to. We're talking about a Bronfman sister. And you got to remember the bloodlines. We got Weinstein in prison wanting not to be transferred to LA. We got a Bronfman sister. We got Ed Buck. We got that Nassif guy that was the main witness in the Russiagate. We have all these people in prison. We have Epstein. We have Maxwell. We have people all over the world. And I'm telling you right now that I just know that I just fully believe they have enough evidence to end this at any time if they want to. Certainly, Durham could have put Joe Biden away a long time ago. I mean, John Kerry, I don't think it's an accident that John Kerry is being exposed, because all of us knew that he had committed treason the entire time Trump was in there. He was meeting with Iran the whole time, telling him, hold on. We also know Susan Rice and Valerie Jarrett and these people are loyal to the Muslim Brotherhood, a bloodline, by the way. And all of the color revolutions right now, all the stuff in Ukraine is just them wanting to save what they created when they pulled a coup there in 2014. We haven't heard a thing about Burisma, Uranium One. All of this stuff is still unadjudicated. There has been no justice. The Clinton Foundation, more than anything, I realize that there has been justice, and we know that maybe there has been, but it doesn't matter what we know if the masses don't see it. And that's where I think the hard part is right now is having people still have faith when they think that there's no justice. There's no justice system. Nobody's ever going to pay a price. And I do believe that once we do have a little monicum of seeing justice in the public eye, then it will, from that point, there will be no stopping it. But it's between now and then that you have to keep people focused and in faith and praying and positive. Very important to stay positive, because as much as we've done, I feel like on the other side, the three of us for sure have a lot more work to do when there is a mass feeling of betrayal and grief and all of that. You know, how many, like, you know, for sure, both of you, but how many soldiers died to make these people money?
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, the work we're going to have. Somebody said this to me a couple months ago, like, man, you know, we thought this thing could possibly end. And then what are you going to do then? You have nothing to do. I'm like, nothing to do. Do you know how many targets are out there now that it's weakened? I got so many politicians. Look, things are already changing. I was just invited tonight to speak last minute at a Republican event. I'm like, me? I'm thinking, we're making a bit of progress here. I got to bring the tomahawk with me, and they're still going to let me in. I'm like, wow. So it's going to be a lot of work to do. Believe me, a lot of work.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you know, at the border, I think that's the worst part to me, is watching what's going on there. And I was talking to a Border Patrol agent the other day, and it's incredibly sad what's happening there. And I'm surprised it's not waking more people up. What has surprised me about America, though I'm not that surprised, because I did study a lot about in Germany, from the Nuremberg laws through the Holocaust, and how it just kept going and going and going, which is kind of where we are in a certain extent now. I'm sure you guys saw the letter from the retired military that they wrote about the Marxist socialism situation, totalitarian situation we're in now, and that they're worried about our country. And I am too. And at the same time, I'm surprised how many Americans are willing to sit it out until it shows up on their doorstep. But you know what the guys told me from ICE? Victor Avila, he's great. You guys should talk to him if you haven't already.
Yeah,
you know,
great.
Yeah, he's awesome. You know what he told me? And it's absolutely true. Oh, it's coming to their backyard, and it's coming faster than they know, right from that border. Because these kids, he said, a lot of them, first of all, a lot of them aren't kids. They're not accompanied minors. They have no paperwork. But also, they're going to be showing up in towns and suburbs, just like Soros infiltrated all of the small towns with his people into the school boards and into the city council and all of that. These kids are going to be showing up in your children's school. They're illiterate in Spanish, let alone don't know English. And then they're gonna be in the hospitals and in the healthcare system, but also they're going to be opening up drug rings, prostitution rings, child trafficking rings in small town America all over this country. This is where they're sending them on purpose. And that, you know, people think, oh, yeah, well, until it affects me. Well, get ready, because I think that's a big red pill coming up real soon in a lot of neighborhoods around this country.
Yeah, I'm going to bring this up, and I want you guys to comment on this, because, you know, the damage being done by what you just said, and the way the liberals always handle this, it's kind of like Santa Monica, the People's Republic of Santa Monica. Oh, you have Martin Sheen, you remember this, McKay, Martin Sheen sleeping on a warm grate at night, to signify, whatever, for the homeless. Right. Like that's going to do anything. So all these people, all these leftists, they got this bleeding heart with no common sense. And then when they want these policies to start happening in their area, they spread into their backyard. And then there's a revolt against what they brought to their backyard. It happens every time. So the only way, in my opinion, this is, we talked about Nasara. I never seen any documentation on Gasara. I certainly believe there's no question this type of, rollout of this rescue mission for humanity is certainly based on this. I don't disbelieve any of that at all. I've covered it a number of times. My belief is the validity of that, or what makes it plausible. You bring that influx of these people in this country, it's going to take generations to correct it. We don't have time for that. So how do you do it? You now unleash the wealth that's in this world, on the world, everywhere around the world. Mm-hmm. All these people who would not want to go back home if their country became rich, where they were born, their families, their heritage. All these people, they come here for this reason, to escape all that. If they had that kind of wealth at home, they'd be picking up, and I believe this is part of the philosophical side of this operation. when they bring it all down and release the riches that belong to the people,
Right.
nobody has a reason to do this. And they just start saying, let's go home. Let's go home. I can't see how we correct it any other way. I really can't from a social standpoint. So my hope is that there is validity to it. So Mike, I don't know, I know you've talked about that quite a bit. I think in the past. What is your thoughts on this, on the whole concept of Nasara, and the enactment of all of that, or Gasara, if you want to call it that?
Yeah, Nasara, for American, then Jasara for the rest of the world. So it's global. It's definitely something that's coming. You look at, I mentioned, Switzerland, the Swiss bankers, they always have neutrality. You ask someone who's the most neutral country in the world, Switzerland. What kind of flag do they have? They have a Templar flag that where, when the French basically raided the Templars and they flew, the money went to the Swiss. And from that point on, they have basically been running the world from Switzerland. So there's a lot of money down in those dumbs that they have there. So the dumbs that they have there, they're the only place in the world where they can take the entire population of Switzerland and put them in dumbs if there's a catastrophe. Right. The only place in the world they can do that. So there's a lot of room there. So they got a lot of stuff down there, I bet. And so I think we've been actually getting some of that. Same thing with the Vatican. Now you look at the Vatican, who guards the Vatican? Swiss guards. So you just on and on and on, you start to see all these parallels, with the Swiss. They've been hiding very good. So where does the money come from? It comes from the banksters. The banksters have been hoarding this money in unbelievable amounts. And when that is released from them and put in the hands of, the rest of the population, of course, there will be a way that's done. And it's not going to be like everyone gets, $1 million.
No,
no.
That's the mistake of all the Nasara people. That's not what's going to happen. But this is very interesting. 2 days ago, I got the most bizarre call. I've got, all of us get people reaching out to us, and you have to vet them and see if they're real and all that. And this guy was real. And I talked to him for a while, and he actually was involved he went down into the Vatican and took pictures, and there was so much more gold than they expected. And the tunnel goes all the way almost, I think, to Israel.
Israel, yep.
But filled with gold. He said he would send. Anyway, they don't know what the holdup is, but there are people. It is ready to go, and they have been in. It's the Bank of International Settlements that is hoarding all the money, honestly. And he was telling me all of our countries, none of our tax dollars have gone anywhere we think it's gone at all. That it's all been hoarded by the City of London, which was the Rothschild Bank. It's really, the City of London has nothing to do with London, the city. It is the Rothschild controlled bank that controlled the monarchs that married into the monarchy through all of these years. But like you said, we've all been taught that Switzerland was neutral. It is anything but. The Bank of International Settlements is where all of our money has been hoarded to. All of the central banks answer to them. You can't trade on, you can't be a broker dealer. You can't work with any central bank without being a part of the Bank of International Settlements. And then they also stole all the stuff from the Jews and from every country they pillaged. They put in Mao. They did the Bolshevik Revolution. They did the French Revolution. It's all the same people. They did both our world wars, our wars, everything that they've done. It is always about money and hoarding money from us. What I've been told, and this isn't the first time that I've heard this number, was that they've found $23 quadrillion that these people are sitting on. And most of it has been seized, but not all of it. And this guy's pretty upset because he doesn't know where the money for the Open Society, all this Soros, all of these, so Myanmar just seized Soros's money because he was doing a coup there. And he's not sure about that, but he did say that a lot of this money has been spread out. So you're going to see, I've seen lately, Russia saying that they're sitting on more gold than they've ever sat on. Hungary saying they are. Poland saying they are. This is because it is being distributed. Through the alliance, I'm told there's 209 countries involved that have signed over the new system and that it's ready to go. And these guys are so frustrated because they don't know what the holdup is, because like Scott said, he said, the minute we trigger this, they're done. They're done. And he also did tell me, all of these bills that they're putting up in DC with all this money, there's no money. They don't have access to this money. The Treasury has no money. And so all of this is being held up by the blackout, but they're not going to just lay down and die after
Right.
that they run the world. But I am saying that this guy, and he seems pretty legit, and I called some of our mutual pals to check on it, and it sounds like it is. And I have to tell you, there's some kind of holdup. But Scott's absolutely right in terms of what these guys are saying, which is the minute that the money this can take place, then of course, every one of these 209 countries that are signed up to get rid of the central bank for good, go back to the gold standard and replenish their society. Because I told him I was very worried about the mental health costs, that I don't believe that we have the real numbers of how much suicide and overdose this past year caused in the world. I think it's probably far worse than COVID. And I'm worried also that there's us, but we're small. Even if there's a few million of us, there's going to be a mass grief, a mass feeling of betrayal, a true feel like there will be a mental health crisis. And I told him, I don't think we're prepared for this. And our mental health system sucks. And these kids coming out that you're saving, they don't need just like drugs and a therapist. They need short and long-term care and housing a lot of times, and to get off whatever they've been on all these years. A million things are needed. And this guy told me all the money's there. All these humanitarian things are already set up.
I'm so glad you're saying that. I'll tell you two things I want to point to in what you just said. I've been talking to this girl. She's from the air defense industry in Switzerland, Suzanne Byman Rudd. Can't get connected with her as often as I'd like to, but she laid out the history of Switzerland, and all roads lead back to Switzerland. You look at the Erickson family, and I can't remember the name of the other. It sounds something like Warburg, but it's not. But these families are the epicenter of this Khazarian mob that goes in every direction on the planet. When she's like, people need to start looking right here. This is where the mother lode of you call it the Khazarian mafia, Nazi mob, it all originates here. She said, we're a neutral country, anything but neutral. But, I was driving, I was telling us the other day, I was driving over the road here on my bike. I always take clothes if I got stuff I want to give away instead of Goodwill, which is a business machine where you give your shit to people. This guy, and he makes $1 billion selling all your stuff. It's supposed to go to help people. It's all, again, the same horse shit that comes from quote unquote the philanthropists who figure out a way to fleece people. So I take it right over to where they may have maybe a soup kitchen or a place where you see these people gather. I'm on my way over, pull over on my bike on this road, and this lovely girl, she's sitting up against a fence, a chain link fence with her boyfriend, I guess, and they had a bunch of stuff scattered around. And I pull over and I shut my bike off. So naturally she comes up, walks over to me. And I said, I pull up my saddlebag. I said, hey, I have clothes and stuff here that I just was going to take over here. And I said, I just wanted to see if you guys can use anything. Her face lit up. She was a beautiful girl, dark hair, beautiful eyes, white jeans on, nice top on. And I was like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this doesn't add up at all. And I said to her, I gave her this stuff. She was so appreciative. Thanks so much. Well, I love this, and we'll use this. And I said, let me ask you a question. How did you get here? I said, because I look at you, I can see you don't belong here. And she said, well, I have a mental health issues. I'm actually a therapist. She said, but ADD. And I think she said, I don't know, it was depression or something. She said, and I just didn't have the help. And then one thing leads to another. But, and I'm talking to her, and I said to her, I said, you know what? I said, I can clearly see that you don't belong here. I said, let me tell you something. I said, there are people out here in the world that are working on bringing down a criminal empire that put you on this street. I said, trust me, this was no accident that this happened to you and a lot of other people. I said, all I can tell you is this, hang on. I know you don't belong here. I can see that. I said, you're a lovely girl. I said, you have an angelic face. I said, you have angelic eyes. She goes, oh, really? And she's tearing up. I said, and she goes, thank you. And she, 2 or 3 times as I'm saying, this world is going to change. There's a lot of people out here in this world fighting to bring down this huge criminal empire, this banking empire that has made everybody in this country have to live, that are living like you. And I said, this is not your fault. I'm just promise you this. What happened to you is not your fault. This is the system that this criminal empire and this planet set up. So people like you could easily fail in different areas that led you to this. And I said, just trust me when I tell you this. This is going to end. This is not going to be your life. I promise you. She didn't know who I was, anything. And the hope and the lights that were coming on in her eyes and her face and breaking into a smile, like, really, really? I said, I'm telling you 1000%. This is happening. There's people like me and other people around the world that are fighting a full-scale war against these scumbags that made the world like it is. So someone like you had to end up here. And I said, just hang on, because this is going to change. This isn't your life. To watch this magnetism come off of her with some hope that, really, think of what she's thinking every day. Oh my God, this is how I'm going to have to live for the rest of my life. That's what makes me want to get these scumbags by the neck and snap them and, throw them in a sewer. I just, that kind of assault on humanity, that's a shit that's kept me awake for 20 years. The good thing is
it's happening. We have another Nuremberg trials that are coming up. There's 1,000 lawyers and 10,000 medical experts that are basically begun Nuremberg proceedings against the CDC, the WHO, and the Davos group. Crimes against humanity for this arm jabby. Yeah. So there's a lot of problems with that going forward.
Yeah, that guy's great. Yeah, and he's got 1,000 affidavits already, and that's going to happen, and that's set up. But don't forget, you guys, Pompeo told us a long time ago that he set up, that he had an international court of human rights that we haven't really heard about. And I believe that that's in play with the entire alliance, and that this is part of it, and it's all going to connect to it. And at the same time, what you're talking about, Scott, is really important to me. I've been fighting for years because Cuomo and de Blasio took a lot of money. $5 billion disappeared between de Blasio's wife's Thrive New York City and Cuomo's mental health reform thing. None of the money went to the mentally ill. None of the money went to the homeless. There was nothing, no housing built, no program. You know what it went to? A bunch of nonprofits, and it went to their salaries, and it went to bogus stuff and PR and all of that. The homelessness, I have literally 3 friends in my neighborhood that have been homeless the entire COVID. I try to help them as much as I can. And there are so many homeless people right now in New York City that literally had lives a year and a half ago. Oh my God. And there's nowhere to go, and there's no help. And they squandered all the money. Nobody was held accountable. They had a whole bunch of committee meetings. And this is why I say, there was that Watch New York. I believe Cuomo is going to be the first domino to fall on that level. Yep. And I saw him in a press conference say very proudly that he runs the Governor Association, and he's mandating the vaccine. You have to be mandated to go back to school, to work for the government. He actually is putting vaccine stations in the subway, so you get your shot on the way to the train. And he's talking about it, and I'm sitting there thinking of the irony of this. And he's going on and on. He has all this stuff going on, keeps saying build back better. This is 2 days ago. And he says, that he's the head of the Governor Association. And I flip back to when Pompeo was talking to the Governor Association and told that room, we know everyone in here that's in bed with the CCP. We have a list. We know who you are. We know what you're doing, and you better cut it out. And that's when he went after the Confucius Institute and the 1,000 Point Institute. So I believe that that's a big part of this too. And I can't wait till these people, because there was enough money to get everyone off the street, get them into rehab, into short and long-term housing, all of that. And all of the money was squandered. And this can't happen anymore, because there's more good people out there than bad, and the bad need to be done with. And I hope, like we talked about before, about bullies and all of that, I only hope Cuomo goes down first, because he'll take them all with him. And then when he said he was the head of the Governor Association, I thought, of course you are. And that's the model. So I have a lot of hope for the future in terms of all of this too, because once these people are found out, we have to make sure that good, honest people that are vetted and really want to be there, go in. But I think another part of all of this is getting rid of probably 75% of the unnecessary government bureaucracy. Right. Like, that's a big part of this, because this is where all the money goes. It goes to salaries. It goes to stupid programs that don't work. It never gets to the people. And that's the bloated bureaucracy. Because if you guys remember, also Trump put in that thing that they went crazy that he could actually start firing people in the federal government that were unnecessary or not doing their jobs, which wasn't able to be done either. So, I look forward to a much smaller government and a much more accountability when we are on the other side of this, God willing.
Yeah, these guys don't make money if they have if they cure homelessness, if they have people all working, if they have all these different programs that they get money for, they try to continue them. So
Right.
like you look at LA and San Francisco and so forth, they get all this money, millions and millions of dollars to help the homeless,
Right.
and it never goes to them. It goes to, like you're talking about, building bigger and bigger and bigger bureaucracies. And they have all these committees where they talk about what they're going to do, and they, clean the sidewalks. Someone gets $150,000 a year for cleaning the sidewalk. It's like, what? Like, oh my God, it's insane.
Yeah. Well, that's, I think, what we have to look forward to. The one thing, this guy that I was talking to, they're just frustrated because they know that the minute that they switch it, I do believe that the SWIFT system, though, which is a big deal, I don't think our money is worth much overseas. I think the SWIFT system might be down, and paying foreign countries with the US dollar right now, I think, is an issue. I can't prove it because I don't have that kind of money, but but I do hear it. And so there's small signs, but I do think that from at least what this guy's saying and some of the other people we deal with that talk more about the QFS and the money side of this, that will be a big trigger, because when they can no longer spend money, they can no longer fight. And
that's what Trump was doing. He was taking away all their money. He was shutting down the border. They didn't have the human trafficking. He started shutting down all the drug trafficking in Afghanistan, the weapons trafficking that was happening in a lot of other countries. And the military is still doing it. They just seized a huge Navy SEALs and the Navy. There was a huge cargo ship coming from Iran full of lots of weapons, and they seized it before it got to Yemen.
right.
So even though the Biden administration said, we're all hands off on Yemen now, we're not going to have anybody working in Yemen anymore, the military is still active, guys. So
Right.
they're still doing their job.
Right after the Biden administration took the Houthi rebels off of the terrorist list, then that was going there. They're also, a guy came out today, a jihadi guy in Palestinian territory, and said they get all their weapons from Iran. And then somebody told me the second Hezbollah starts shooting from Lebanon, it's going to be a giant game change. Well, tonight, the Hezbollah started shooting from Lebanon, but a part of me thinks that they're making them waste their missiles. I mean, they're all getting, whatever's going on out there. I have no idea, but I do know that there are white hats out there fighting for us, or there would be a lot more damage, and that's for sure. But a lot of these also, he screwed up Afghanistan, but I heard that the deal in Afghanistan was that Trump said to the Taliban, stop the heroin coming to America, get rid of the poppy fields, and we'll leave. A lot of why we were staying there, this, Michael, as well as anyone, was because of the heroin trade. And
same thing in Vietnam. Same thing. Same thing.
And
What's there to do there, Mike, if they take that? Look, most people don't understand this. I know you do. That we had 8 hectares of poppy fields under cultivation before we went into Afghanistan. 2 years after we're in there's 84. You saw U.S. soldiers patrolling the fields, and they were saying, this is horseshit. This is not why I'm here. So they take, and that's, again, I always have to make sure I get in my H.W. Bush Nazi Fourth Reich leader scumbag pedophile. I'm not emotional about any of this stuff.
I'm on the same.
Yeah, you say that all in one breath too. I'm impressed. That's good.
Yeah, and I cut it short because I talk too much anyways. I had a lot more to say in one breath. But so Mike, what do they do if they take those poppy fields down? What industry? I mean, what's there? I'm
oh God,
that.
there's so much. Yeah. The Chinese actually came in, and there's like a multi-billion-dollar silver mines are starting to go into. And Trump was like, why the Chinese get this? We're the ones that have been here all this time. Yeah. So, this is the way this works over there. And the same thing in Pakistan. We've been there for years, funneling money to them, billions after billions after billions. And like we're going after terrorists, right? And I was there, and we used to see the terrorists, and talk to them, and they tell us, oh, the Pakistani military, they're the worst in the world. They come into an area after the U.S. Government tells them they better start earning the money that we're sending there, and they shoot their cannons, bring their howitzers and shoot up into the mountains. They kill the villagers. We laugh at them. They don't kill any of us, and they say that they've killed hundreds of us, and they haven't killed any of us. They kill the villagers, and so the villagers hate them. They're scared of them. The Taliban and the Al Qaeda guys laugh at them, and then continue the bombing. So it's insane. And then when Trump said, the guy that I work with that helped us find bin Laden, the doctor, they put him in prison.
Oh my God,
they put him in prison. We told him, hey, dude, you need to leave. And he's like, no, my country's, I'll be a hero. He's like, so he's been in prison since then.
I know.
And anyone that tries to help him, they kill him, kill lawyers, kill any family members trying to help him. He's still in prison. It's a travesty. So Trump said, when I get in office, he'll be released right away. He didn't understand the way things work over there. So when he came in and said, I'm cutting the money, they went to China. So this is the way it works over there. So the Chinese, if we come in and basically say, all right, you stop the poppy seeds, the poppy fields, the Chinese are going to come in after us and go start them up again.
Right.
That's the way it works.
Yeah. Well, everything's very bizarre geopolitically. There's so much more going on. We could talk for 4 days, but the other thing about China too, though, is all of this is a lot of the countries, everything's leading back to China and on COVID and the Wuhan lab and the crimes against humanity. There are a lot of people that want to hold China responsible. Obviously, Dr. Fauci, very involved. Obama's administration, very involved. Epstein, all of this. But I do believe that there's two factions in China. I think that there are white hats and black hats right now. And there are people that want to take down the CCP. But they have a big problem on their hands with that Three Gorges Dam. And so everyone's got their ticking time bomb. And so to me, also, China pillaged Africa. But if all this money is released, Africa is the whole depopulation thing is a total farce. The Good Club came up with it. They want to depopulate the planet. So they great reset. They can control us better. If there's 500 million, we all know that Bill Gates said if he does a good enough job with the vaccine, he can eliminate 10 to 15% of the people on the planet. A and B have to be looked at together. But there's so much in this world. And I saw that Australia pulled out of the Belt and Road Initiative. And a lot of this is backfiring. So a lot of the CCP's plans I see unraveling too. So it's just, we have to look through the whole world and see that every nation, every big nation is making major moves right now, along with Russia being the loudest ones, telling the central bank and the Great Reset they can go F off, and it's nice to see. So, I mean, I'm positive about that the alliance, the international alliance is moving in unison. I think that's also part of the reason that America can't act alone. I think that all the pieces are part of one plan, or that's what it looks like.
Yeah. We're seeing right now the fraud that just happened with the pipeline on the East Coast. Basically shut it down. And I guess they did the ransomware. They ended up paying them anyway, $5 million. The, Biden administration said, well, that, they'll take care of it. That's because that group is part of that.
Right.
So what's going on with fraud and all of that stuff right now? It's up 300% from last year when Trump was in office. Who do you think's doing that? It's not the Russians. Nope, it's the deep state.
Them. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's them. And I don't know if you guys saw this today, but I'm sure you will. Now there's suddenly a crack in a bridge that is like a main hub in Mississippi for our military on the I-40 to get to Middle America if there is a civil war, or if there is a need to get there. And it's a big shipping route on the Mississippi, right in line with that. And then Whitmer says she's going to close the pipeline from Canada. I mean, this is the playbook of the World Economic Forum. They said, if after COVID, they did this Polygon tabletop exercise that was a takedown of our grid, a run through. I mean, it's not, that's why I think we got to be this close because the next phase of this is a whole nother level that they don't have the money to pull off. And B, they can't pull it off without the UN and NATO. And our country, you think that people won't, they see NATO and UN tanks rolling into, every town America? It's not going to go well. You
can't win. They can't win against the U.S. population. Every country on earth knows that. Mike, I want to throw this at you. As soon as I asked you about Afghanistan, this is some intel that came to me from this protege group that I talk about, which I think you'll find very interesting. I'm going to read through a couple of these. Subject is radioactive diamond battery, which is condensed matter physics. They sent me attachments that I read, but halfway into it, I'm like, I'm not this smart, like particle physics and shit like that. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to pick this up really well. So anyways, here's what it says. This is why coalition JSOC mission sets were being deployed to northeastern quarter of Afghanistan, mining time crystals, aka diamonds. These radioactive diamond battery will run for 28,000 years. And then there's this article in Popular Mechanics that I was sent to that I read this, and it was unbelievable. But it says diamond batteries could also power certain kinds of spacecraft like satellites. They already are. DJT announcement was legal and official release date of Space Force Nuclear Tactical Response Unit. Same technology used in satellite on Operation Evergreen. This power system is immune from an EMP weapon, hence its counteractive capability. If a discrete time translation symmetry is broken, which may be realized in periodically driven systems, then the system is referred to as a discrete time crystal. A discrete time crystal never reaches thermal equilibrium, as it is a type of non-equilibrium matter. Breaking of time symmetry only occurs in non-equilibrium systems. The natural occurring element allows threats of any kind to be located before they take place. This then allows the Space Force assets to mobilize and position satellites for a strategic and direct action response, i.e. Evergreen and other vessels. It says it was phonons, not photons, but phonons that were used to jam the strategic nuclear warhead aboard Evergreen. In physics, a phonon is a collective excitation in a periodic elastic arrangement of atoms and molecules in condensed matter, specifically in solids and some liquids, often referred to as a quasi-particle. It's an excited state in the quantum mechanical quantization of the modes of vibrations for elastic structures of interacting particles. That's where I start bailing out in this article. But they can be thought of as quantized sound waves, similar to phonons as quantized light waves. But it goes on to talk about this on-site development of time crystal mining. And then there's other things that I guess I can't read, but when I said that, it went off. I thought, yeah, if that kind of technology or specific type of diamonds, I don't know if it's a specific type, that is a global mother lode for any country that could corner that market or have access to it. So yeah,
I mean, there's all kinds of crystals there in Afghanistan. It's like the mother of the crystals. I mean, I bought lots of crystals there. I'm a crystal guy. So yeah, lapis lazuli. I mean, I got like big pieces of it that are worth thousands and thousands of dollars here. I pay like $100 for them. So it's amazing. So all like India would import from Afghanistan all of the stuff they put in their statuary and in their columns and everything. They basically crystallize and put all these beautiful lapis and all these other precious metals and stuff like that, and they're everywhere. And because they had the mother lode there in Afghanistan, at one time India had part of Afghanistan. So it's amazing the things that are going there. But now you're starting to get into a little bit high tech, and that's where I like too. I'm a physics guy and love the high tech stuff. So yes, the high tech stuff was in Iraq. They went into the museum there in Iraq, and they got some stuff there, basically, so they can do their time travel and all kind of crazy stuff. And same thing in Afghanistan. They encountered a giant in Afghanistan in one of the caves. So there's lots of stuff, these guys aren't revealing. They went into lots of other countries, Syria, to basically raid their temple structures. It's a lot of high tech stuff that's out there. These guys know where it's at, just like the Nazis had, and probably still do have, the Spear of Destiny. And so all of these sacred items, these areas that have like high tech stuff that they go in and capture and use. The Nazis weren't the only ones. They were doing it. Now the Nazis, the Fourth Reich, like you said, Mel, here in America, now they're going to all these places and grabbing all these treasures that they wanted to grab back when they were in Germany, and they're doing it now. So there's a big grab for a lot of this stuff, and that's another reason why the White Hats are basically moving very aggressively to take these guys down, because if they get too far ahead in some of these technologies, it'd be just like it was after World War II when we went down to Antarctica and got spanked because the Nazis had built their technology to a high level and came out with directed energy weapons from flying saucers and all kind of crazy stuff and blasted our fleet. Right. So they made a show of flying a lot of those flying saucers over the White House during the 50s, and everybody's like, oh, you can still see that was them. That was the Nazis. They're basically a show of force, like, yeah, we own you. So and kind of they do, but the White Hats all this time, they've been trying to come back, and now we're at that point where we're going to take it back.
These guys that are trying to make these power moves to seize these kind of technologies and ancient artifacts that have true power in the quantum realm, I guess, so to speak. Yeah, are these warring black hat? Because I know you got like the Rockefeller faction, the Rothschild faction, or the Khazarian mafia. They're sort of always in a power struggle, trying to gain, the upper hand in the control mechanisms there. Are these things happening amongst the cabal powers inside? They're like infighting, trying to gain ground, or is this strictly white hat, black hat?
It's pretty much strictly white hat, black hat at this point. The black hats are so far on their heels and being cut down and taken apart that the enemy of my enemy is my enemy. It's kind of like thing that we hear over time. So they're all like just like the Greeks. They couldn't get together. They're always infighting. Right. Same thing with the black hats. They're always infighting until the Persians came, and then they got together and they kicked the Persians' butt. So the black hats have tried to do that to us this time, and in the past they've been successful. This time we had the technology we needed, and we've been helped out in certain areas that basically they're not going to win.
Right. And I hear that a lot of the bloodline family, younger generations want nothing to do with this.
Heard that.
So I've heard from two different people that I know are in that world, and there is a big running away from these families that is going on, and they don't have people that even want to step up into the Rothschild that passed away, maybe the Pindar. Nobody wants the role. You know what I mean? It's there. I mean, there are people out there in those families, but the younger generation, they know that their time's up, and the shielding that they've had all these years is basically gone. So what I'm hearing is that there is really, the younger generations don't want to live like this anymore, and they know that the gig is up and there's too much out there, and that they won't survive playing the same game anymore. The hard part is a lot of them are already compromised, and they will have to deal with their fate as it comes. I know that a lot of people that are involved in the satanic stuff from Epstein Island and other islands, and the monarchs and all the people that are involved in that stuff, a lot of them are victims as well. But they'll have to deal with that on their side. There's no excuse for any of the adrenochrome or satanic ritual stuff. But a lot of the children raised in that world really have come to a place where they know that they can't live both lives. It's just not possible at this point.
Well, the military, we were so effective in taking out the terrorists, which is basically an arm of the deep state, right. In Afghanistan and Pakistan. A lot of people don't know how unbelievably effective we were. I mean, I was hearing from guys in the field. They're like, you would not believe how many people we were taking out. I'm not going to go into detail about that, but from my perspective, when we found the terrorists, if we, drone strike or, SF would come in and remove them, we'll call it that. And it got to the point where no one wanted to step up anymore. And it's kind of like that right now with the deep state.
Exactly.
Yep.
there's a lot to be said about how far in their
Mm.
heels they are, because these younger generations from this world, they've been MK Ultra'd. They have one track of thinking, and they're now in a position they're like, we don't want anything to do with this anymore. That pretty much, I'm like you. We win this thing. It's a hands down outright victory. But little indicators like that's another puzzle piece that says, given that consideration, and they're still saying we don't want any of this. That's quite a picture that's painted for them, that even if it's to try to, their own posterity to save their asses, you break through that MK Ultra mind control to get them to that reckoning. Things are really bad for them, obviously.
Oh yeah, and there's been a lot of deprogramming. There really has, and honestly, it's people like us. The three of us are pretty cool with everyone, and the more truth, the better. Bring it on. Nobody's my competition. Everyone's welcome. But it is a lot of this that has made those generations, the younger generations in these families, the Rothschilds, Rockefellers. But there's many more families that they changed their last names. The whole Paysor family, they don't even have that last name anymore. They're all different names. But the truth of the matter is they know that they're found out. There is nowhere to hide. And a lot of it is because of people like us that just keep saying it and getting out there and reinventing and going out. They know the internet backfired on them. That's a big part of it. And YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, they thought, well, we can control these people, but no, you can't control people that are fighting for God and country and freedom and really believe it from the heart. And that's really, this has a lot to do with it. The last 10 years or longer of people coming out and saying, look, this is what happened at 9/11. This is what happened here. This is what happened here. This is the UN. This is, and then getting into the bloodline families, and then the Epstein thing, and it's like, there's nowhere to hide anymore. And if people were silent and there weren't people stepping up and telling the truth, they wouldn't feel this kind of pressure, but they do. And it's too late now.
Key word, stepping up, Mel. That's why we got to keep going to get America to just simply step up. Once they stand up from their seated position, there's so many of us. Like you said, this group of 3,000, these clowns that get together, they sent their representatives out to black robes, big white table, darkness mask, all that ridiculous child's play. But, from that group right there, if the 3,000 realize that it's over, then the 80 that gather at that table know it's over. And then they get killed by the other 2,920, right? Everybody's going to be trying to save themselves, throwing each other under the bus. But aside from that, Americans, just a small fraction of Americans, just stand up locally and say, we're done with this bullshit. We're done. It goes at a geometric speed with which, look at Arizona. The school board was a perfect small test study of what happens when the people show up. They run for the hills. We quit, we're out. It'll be very fast and very funny too. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking forward in my neck of the woods to Cuomo finally. I think he's getting close. I saw his New World Order. It looked like he was MK Ultra. He must have said Build Back Better 6 times in his speech 2 days ago. And I was like, what is going on? This is crazy. We were cracking up. We were oh, did he say it again? Oh my God. Who's controlling him today? So as soon as his thing gets pulled, he's bringing them all down with him. He's going to admit that all the governors were in on it. They were in on it, in my opinion.
Yeah. And, there's a lot of them that, like you were talking about, Mel, that are attached to the CCP, and that those tendrils are already being found out. We saw that with the governor of Georgia and, his secretary of state and all these people. They basically, had, CCP basically came in and funded them.
Right.
And the same thing with a lot of these Hollywood types, on and on and on. So a lot of people were compromised. It's basically treason for a lot of people out there.
Well, don't forget what happened during the Kavanaugh hearing when Lindsey Graham made him say multiple times, if an American citizen conspires with a foreign enemy to harm America, are they considered an enemy combatant? Yes. And that's what we got in DC, a whole bunch of enemy combatants and in all these positions and all these people who played along and were involved in this entire thing. Because the three of us have talked about Operation Lockstep, Event 201. This was planned and they were in on it. And as soon as that all comes out, we're going to have a whole bunch of enemy combatants. Because as we said before, DC is a foreign entity on our soil, and it's an enemy of the people. So
Right.
You mentioned
Absolutely.
CCP, and earlier you said, Mel, that you're not sure about Xi, and I want to get your viewpoint on that. This was 2015 during the election with Trump, and I made a statement on Facebook, and I knew it was coming, but I said Vladimir Putin is the only noble leader on the world stage. Of course, I got hammered by everybody, but I've watched, you look at his history, watch Putin taking on this Khazarian mob the day they marched him in after Yeltsin. They had him, they had him taped up and had him, he was a ventriloquist dummy at best, but they brought him in and said, look, these oligarchs, you're never going to be president. He said, well, we'll see. And he did, took them down. They were raping the country, letting people starve in Siberia, freeze to death. All he wanted to do is come in and give Russia a better standard of living. And of course, look, the restraint, this guy, his restraint is epic for when they buzzed the USS Donald Cook, remember that back in 2013, Mike? You don't get anywhere within 150 miles of a Navy ship like that. And it just flies on by. You're thinking, has Obama made us that weak? No, from what I heard was their electronic warfare disabled all systems, the screw, the weapon systems. And they're basically letting them know, look, keep this shit up, we'll sink your whole Navy, right? So if Putin has this kind of power and he knows he's not fighting the American people, he has sympathy for the American people. He's known this Khazarian mob has been basically using us and our soldiers and our economy to do what they've done. She, to me, was a little bit of a surprise early on, but right around 2017, I started to see a different picture of this guy. And from that point, I've maintained there's a trifecta, Xi, Putin, and Trump working together on this. But you did say something earlier about you're not quite sure about Xi. I can see how people might look at that and vacillate a bit, but I'd like to get your viewpoint on why you're not sure. Maybe he is, he's a wild card.
Right. My feeling is that, look, the thing about Putin, I totally agree. And you have to understand the whole Russia, even up to this whole thing that they were talking about with Ukraine, it wasn't Russia being the aggressor. It was NATO. Using Ukraine. Ukraine couldn't beat Russia. NATO can't beat Russia, but that's not even the point. I believe from my work and my research and what I personally have looked into is that at the G7, when Trump invited Putin and the whole country and the left-wing media and everyone went up in arms, how could he invite Putin to the G7, blah, blah, blah. I believe it was in Japan. I think that's when Trump showed them all the evidence he had on the child trafficking, the human trafficking, adrenochrome. He sat down with all of them, Modi, Morrison, everyone, all the world leaders, G included, the guy that was there before in Japan, all of these leaders, the Mexican president was there, and a lot of people were there, and I believe the Queen of England, and I think he laid out the whole thing and said, enough's enough. We got to take them down. They have pillaged this planet. They're hoarding the money. They're harming the people. And worst of all, they are trafficking our children all over the world. And I believe at that G7 meeting is when the alliance was officially formed. And from that day on, all of them have been working together to take down the deep state, bloodline, Khazarian mafia, whatever we want to call it. They're straight up demons that have been pillaging our planet and harming humanity and hoarding our money and our resources for their own gain. And that's what I think happened. And I still to this day see G, every once in a while, he'll be like, yeah, there's not going to be a great reset. And then he'll move on and keep talking. And you'll be like, what? What did he say? And people have told me, there is a big faction inside China taking down the CCP, as there is one in Iran taking down the regime there. So I think that this is all part of it. And I've thought, Putin and Trump were all on the same team the whole time as well.
People ask about genocide. It goes on, the Chinese people. And my answer to that is, folks, look at the genocide going on among American people. Let's just forget the shot, forget the jab. Look at big pharma. Look at corporate food industry. Look at the poisoning death machine of what they're doing. Genocide doesn't have to just be bullets. All of it, fentanyl. All of that happening in the U.S. is perpetuated. Could Trump stop all that and everything? Of course. I mean, it's like one guy that has an enormous responsibility trying to plug so many holes in this ship that you just can't say, well, it's happening. I mean, you can say, why is Trump allowing all these people to be killed in the U.S.? It's like, come on, same with Xi. He's got a whole hell of a lot more people and a
Right.
massive faction of the Khazarian mob, CCP
Right. It's the
faction.
Lee family. It's not Xi anyway. It's the Lee family there.
Yeah,
It's the
the Lee
Muslim
family.
Brotherhood is
Mhm.
also, look at what they've done all over the Middle East. These people, they don't look at us as humans. It doesn't matter how many of us die at all. And it's all connected. People don't realize that the fentanyl and the opioids in our country are genocidal. And like you're saying, yeah, we don't have the camps here that even John Kerry is admitting make all the solar panels today. John Kerry is going down. I believe he's already gone, but all the stuff coming out about him is connecting all of a lot of dots. But at the same time, it's happening all over the world, and it's all the same people. And I think that the alliance are the world leaders that got together and do care about their people and do want their countries to be free of this menace that has been the dark overlords basically all this time. And that's what I believe, because if not, I think a whole lot of more of us would be dead at this point.
Can't we come up with some kind of addictive drug for the reptilians that make them go bonkers and like start dropping dead? Why can't we do this, right?
Yeah, that's the if we somehow make the adrenochrome toxic to them. But Putin basically gave Trump a soccer ball, which is basically the chemical outline of adrenochrome, and he tossed it to him, and then Trump gives it to Melania. So Melania has been going really helping the children and so forth. So and they're a team. They're all teams.
Remember when she wore the dress and everyone's like, that's such an ugly dress. And it was all pictures that children that were saved from child trafficking drew in therapy. And it was all on her dress, and they were making fun of her. I mean, I love her. She's great. But yeah, and also that in that soccer ball, they say that he gave him all the evidence that same day on uranium one. So
wasn't there like 6 like terabytes of USB keys in there with all their intel since the Clinton years that had everything on all of them?
Right. And don't forget that we still know, at least from the WikiLeaks documents, that Hillary Clinton's server was CC'd to the CCP.
Right.
Somebody in the CCP. See, that's what I'm saying. All of this is, if we know it, they know it. So
I know.
That's what I'm saying.
And they gave us Hunter Biden's laptop. So there are good elements within the CCP,
Really?
And I won't say the CCP within China.
Right. The CCP is definitely a bad element. Yeah. And unfortunately here, I believe it's our CIA and a bunch. I know that there's good men in the CIA. I'm just saying it's for all of this stuff. It's the people at the very top, because I know people that are Masons that have no idea that at the very top, I mean, what's going on or a lot of that, all of this stuff. But yeah, again, we have to always remember the people of Iran and the people of China were the most devastated by what happened with Trump. Because they both deserve to be free, and they're not. And I think people forget, looking at their leaders, and confuse that there are people in those countries that are not free. And we're this close to joining that. We're never going to, but that I do get a lot of information and emails and stuff. And the people of China and the people of Iran were so devastated by the steal of our election beyond what most people know. And so for them too, we really have to right these wrongs.
Yeah, I was in Washington, D.C. at a big get together, and I had my tuxedo on and everything. I had Iranians come up and talk to me because they saw that I was a Navy SEAL, and they sat me down. It's like, look, you guys don't need to go into Afghanistan. Come take down Iran. We will help you. We will be there with you. Iran is where you really need to take down. They're the ones that really are causing everything.
Everyone knows, but Obama is one of them. Valerie Jarrett, Obama, Brennan, Kerry, Susan Rice, they're all on Iran's side. We had 8 years of Muslim Brotherhood running DC. So this is a lot. That's what's going on, I believe, right now. A big part of what we're seeing happening in Israel has nothing to do with Israel.
Oh, absolutely.
We believe that
they pumped a lot of money. They've been pumping money to Hamas like crazy. Yeah. And Iran. we already knew that the Obama administration gave pallets full of money and let them continue their.
Some of that money went to Switzerland and then was changed into different denominations and went to Italy, and it will all connect in a major foreign interference in our election that we all knew about since January. And I think it's coming, but like you said, there's many different things that could pop, but the American people, something will. And when it does, there's no stopping the good guys, the good Americans that love our country and our freedom and will never give it up to the globalists or the UN or to these demons that are trying to divide and conquer. It's just not going to happen. But whatever that's going to be, it's going to be.
Well, those of you people around the world, whether you're in China and you're in Iran, let me assure you this, what you see happening right now, this is a new battlefield because this is what winning looks like. They didn't steal the election. It was given to them so they could hang themselves like a hangman's noose. So just no matter what you see, don't be worried because the cavalry's on the way. We're just cleaning these guys up after we get them in the box trap. And then once that happens, believe me, your world's going to change. Your life's going to change because we're coming. Americans are coming to your rescue. And don't fret. Don't think that this is lost. Just a whole different game that's being played. So winning now takes on a different face, and have fun because this is what it looks like.
Absolutely.
Great.
Well, guys, it was awesome having you here today. We're about that 90-minute mark, and I know these people are going to be pissed because I say we had a good show today. They want to keep going. Patriot Street Fighters are fired up, man. They got like almost 20,000 here. They're like calling their friends. Yeah, they start calling their friends and say, "Get your ass on that live stream. This is awesome."
Oh, that's so great. Oh God. You know what, guys? It's been quite a journey, but I'm really proud of everyone that stuck with it through thick and thin and through slings and arrows, and all of it. It's just been, you know what? If we help even a small group of people that help another group of people that open other eyes, then you know what? We're blessed by God to have the opportunity. And this is God's battle, and we're just we're soldiering on in the name of all that's good against true evil. And that's the thing I think we all understand. It's not up to us. It's really much bigger than we are. And I thank you both for always being awesome.
Well, I give Mr. Jaco the last word here. I will tell you, my friend, I apologize. I wanted to give you, I get so excited you guys are coming on. I forgot this is recorded to YouTube, of course. I forgot to hit my Zoom record, and Mike, I know Tracy had asked me to, so you could, and I totally forgot to give that permission. So just go download it right off of the channel here. But make sure you guys that when you do jump in here, roll through the video and watch the threads of comment. There's a ton of love here for both of you. And I think you need to see it. I really think you need to see it. So it was truly a pleasure having both of you here. We'll do it again fast.
Yeah.
And Mr. Jaco, this is kind of the human form of Yoda as I see him. I want to hear his parting words of wisdom. Now, the mustache thing, I had to say, wait a second, something's different here, and it caught me. The mustache. Where's that Jaco mustache? What's going on there? They want to know. I'm telling you. I'm asking it, but I'm telling you, they're thinking it.
It's a summer look. It gets hot, and it's time to. But yeah, I mean, I can't please everybody. So.
Curiosity is what kills them.
Yeah, it's like 50-50. People like it with me without it, and then some people like it with it. But staying in that love vibration, I say this all the time. That's how we win, because they try and bring us down into the anger and the fear, and that's why a lot of people run out and get that jabby, and that's going to be bad going forward. So hopefully we can help those people that are still deciding to do that. And that's what they're trying to do with the going against them in Nuremberg. So hopefully we turn around real quick. There's a lot of people trying to shut it down in our politician stuff. So stay in the love vibration. And as we stay in that love vibration, you become like Yoda. You become like, Star Wars, it's we have these powers. We have the Superman, Superwoman powers. And if you want to be a Jedi, you have to stay in that higher vibrational field.
Is there a way for me to not have my love vibration shattered at the mere mention of the Bush family? I got to work on that. I'd like to know.
Knowing that your love vibration weakens them and shatters their energy.
Exactly. Good
That's
one.
what. Yeah.
We solved it. We solved it. I'm in love.
All right. Very good. Very
Bye,
good.
guys. I hope we do it again soon. Thank
We
you.
will.
Absolutely.